You guys remember in the NEL arc after the Manchun game when Noah claims that Isagi is worse overall than Kunigami? I don't know what kind of bullshit the author was on writing this shit, so I decided to rank my own stats for every single character in block. So yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoy, and let's just hop into the video. First off, I wanted to start with my sexy, horny goat Shido. Offense is kind of hard to rank because it's like playmaking, shooting, passing, anything just offensive combined. And pretty much all of his offensive ability only comes from his shooting. So with everything combined, I'm probably only going to give him like an 85. He's extremely aggressive and has the ability to bulldoze his way through most people. Plus just having him on the field is like a massive decoy in and of itself because you cannot ignore him and let him run free. But next we have defense, and that's not much of a surprise to y'all. It's pretty shit with like a 63. Sure, he's like big and all, but we've never even seen him do anything on defense really that much. But for a player like him, he doesn't need to, you know, he's a fucking striker. Another quick one's passing. I initially was going to put him lower, but I remembered in the France game, I think he was in like a passing triangle with Karasu. So I give him like a 70, barely scraping his way into the good tier. And another mid stat for him is dribbling. Once again, I think he's actually a tad bit better than people give him credit for. Like, he was able to monkey past this defender that was locking down Bachira, but that was more just because of his raw physicality. I'll give him like a 73, sure, why not? But now we get to the last two categories where he really shines. First off, we have shooting, you know, he's going in the straight tier, professional category with a 94. With his ability to make shots from nearly any position, he's the closest player in the show to like Holland or Zlatan, so you know, it just makes sense his shooting would be pro tier. Then the final category, which I think is actually better than his shooting, is his X factor. He's one of the greatest Joker players in the world in my opinion, because if you give him a world-class passer like Sae, he's gonna diddle anyone on the field, bro, making straight up miracles happen in the box. Easily one of the highest on the list with like a 96. So with all that said, he averages out to an 80.17. Now obviously I'd value him a lot higher as a striker, but you know, this list includes like defense and dribbling and stuff. So yeah, everything combined, he gets an 80.17. Now we have the newest golden boy of Blue Lock in Karasu. After his massive performance in the new France game, all of his stats have definitely shot up dramatically. Starting off with offense, he's our new highest on the list with like a 90, barely scraping into the pro tier. I think it's deserved with his ability to create 2 goals against France, the strongest team nearly by himself using his IQ alone. France's U20 team is probably better than some pro teams, so yeah. Sure, he's not as scary by himself as like a Shido or Barou, but football is played with 11 people, and he showed in the last game that with a good team, he has the ability to elevate the entire team's floor by himself. So yes, deserved first block member to have pro level offense. Next is defense. He definitely should have great defense, having similar IQ to Isagi, but we just don't have that many feats at the moment. So for now, I'll give him like an 85. Passing will also be in like an 84 for me. He's not the absolute best at it, but you know, with his IQ and metavision, he's at least very good. Dribbling is probably one of his weaker elements. Now, he was stated earlier to be like the best in block at keeping the ball, so he's at least decent. I'll give him an 80. Next is shooting, which, you know, again, he's definitely not the most special with. I don't think we've seen him score a single goal since the tryout matches in the beginning of season 2, so he's probably a bit less than characters like Chigiri or Bachira, so I'll give him like a 78. Then finally his X factor, which is also pretty high because of the France game. His ability to turn the tide using Barou and Shido as weapons, plus his genius to set up Hiori for the goal. Against a team like France, that's no small feat, so I'm going to give him a 91, being very high up there. Being a very overall solid player has given him a total score of 84.67. Now for everyone's favorite femboy, we have the speed princess himself, Chigiri Hyoma. Offensively, he's extremely strong for getting the ball up and down the field when crossing him on the sides using his monstrous speeds. Although I kind of just overall rate him like a bit lower than Bachira, so he'll be receiving an 82 for offense. Defense is slightly better than his, but as Isagi showed everyone, all he can really do is run in blindly. I'll still give him a 65 for his ability to just monkey in someone's way. Passing is quite average as well with him, not really ever, you know, doing anything too special, so 75. Dribbling is where it really does shine though, because if he's not facing anyone as fast as him, he can pretty much just blast past most people with his speed. So I'm going to give him an 88. Not quite pro level yet, but he's getting there. His shooting isn't that great either. I mean, he does have his golden zone though, so 83? I don't know. I just feel like him and Bachira are just kind of mid shooters, but they have like really good weapons to get them to the net to score. And finally, when it comes to X Factor, once again, like Bachira, I just don't think he has much at all. It's literally just speed. If someone's faster than him or smarter than him, as we saw, he just can't do much. So even lower than Bachira, he's getting a 72 for X Factor. Chigiri to me is just an overall great player, but he's not that special anything other than dribbling, which kind of makes sense when looking at these numbers. So yeah, he averages out at a 77.5. Next up, we have a super interesting character with Reo Mikage, and he may be like the hardest person to rank on this list because obvious reasons if you have any reading comprehension. But yeah, for any of my Rakai viewers in the chat, it's because of his copy ability. So for our sake, I'll just scale what we've actually seen versus what his quote-unquote potential is. Yo, Loki, if he doesn't perform in this next match, he's becoming Megami 2.0 with this fucking potential. Always if and when, but never is. But yeah, let's go over these real quick. First off, his offense is kind of weird because, you know, like, once again, I feel like he should be able to spearhead multiple attacks with his weapon and IQ. We just haven't seen him do it. So I'm going to give him a 90 for now, low S. Scratching pro tier, but if he doesn't perform this next match, he's going straight to fraud watch. Defense is also probably near low pro tier as he has access to every defensive move and has displayed great abilities in the past. So I'm going to give him like an 87. Passing, once again, he has shown to copy Sae and should be able to copy people like Hiori as well. Plus, he was already good at it before that, so he's getting at least like an 86 from me. Dribbling, he should scale at least close to Bachira as he literally can become him 99%. Plus he has Sae and other players moves, so call me crazy, but he should have the same rating as Bachira at least with like a 95. Shooting's hard because we've rarely seen him score goals, even though he should. Because he has the abilities of nearly every block player, as we've seen, he's copied Shido, Rin, Nagi shots, plus he should have Isagi's 2-gun volley, etc, etc. So once again, he's got to have like at least a 90, like, right? Because of just the sheer options he has. Then finally, X Factor is hard. Now, this is the one I'm not going to glaze him on yet because he should theoretically be able to pull shit out of his ass, but we just have never really seen him do it, like, ever. So I'm going to give him an 80. But that still brings his grand total to a fucking 88, which is near pro level, which is why if he doesn't start performing in these next few games, he will be sacrificed on an altar for his fraudulent behavior. Next after Reo is the king himself, Barou. Dude, fight me in the comments. He's just a worse Shido in my opinion. I know some people will be mad at that, but like even Barou himself called Shido the king in the last match, so eat my ass, I don't care. Offense is more or less the same as Shido. He can dribble better than him, but he makes less miracle shit happen, so they'll equalize at 85 for offense. Defense is about the same, so I'll give him a 62 since I just think he's worse than Shido. Just like the last year, his passing is definitely worse than Shido, so I'll give him like a 67. But finally, for Barou's sake, he outclasses Shido hard with dribbling. It's definitely strong, but I don't think he's like a top 5 in block, so I'll give him an A with an 85. Still really good. Next, being one of the top players in block, he'll naturally have a cracked shooting ability. I feel his accuracy and range is better than Shido's, but he just like can't hit the freak shit that Shido does. So I'll just equalize their stats, giving him a 94 as well. And then finally, he also has some of the highest X factor in the series, always shaking up matches whenever he gets subbed in. I saw someone make a peak joke. It said Barou turns a 50-50 into a goal, while Rin turns a goal into a 50-50. But I still think having Shido's miracle plays is a bit better than Barou. So if Shido has a 96, I'll give him like a 95. Not as good as Shido, but he's still undeniably a world-class player. His average is also higher than Shido's at an 81.33, surprisingly. Next up, we have the guy who is promoted from bum to goat in Gagamaru. I used to hate this guy, but you know what? He performed in the last game while aura farming a bit, and he wasn't emo, so, you know, sure, for once, I'll glaze him just this once. First off, we have offense, and I mean, he's a good shooter, but he really can't do pretty much anything else, so it's going to be kind of low with like a 78. Then kind of new, but his defense is really underrated as fuck. He easily has the best physical ability in block. Shido is able to blitz past a defender who is mogging Bachira, but in the peak street game, Shido had this guy on a leash the entire match, literally writing him out of the game. Then in the France game, he slapped his Shmi on Loki, saving a goal. So yeah, honestly, his defense maybe getting close to pro level, so I'll give it like an 87. Passing is up next. He's just kind of mid. Not horrific like Barou and Shido, but not amazing, so I'll give him like a 75. Kind of the same thing with dribbling. I've pretty much never seen him dribble off the top of my head, so I'll just slap him with another 75. 75 is pretty much like the meh average number I thought of to choose for a lot of characters. Shooting is definitely where he shines, though. Probably having the most powerful shot in all of block, whilst also being ambidextrous. I don't think he's at the level of Barou, but I feel like he's pretty fucking close, so I'll give him like a 93. Then finally, when it comes to X Factor, like, I hate to say it, he doesn't bang that much the table a lot of the time, so, you know, sure, why not? Another good 75. But now doing the math, that brings us all to 80.5. Pretty solid and respectable. Now we got Mr. Aura himself with Otoya. He's a great block player, but, you know, not a top dog, so I can't imagine his stats are too much better than someone like Chigiri's or Bachira's. First off, offense, if Chigiri has an 82, I'll give him like an 80. Defense, I think it also has to be pretty fucking low like Bachira, but I think he's a bit bigger, so maybe with his ninja moves he's a little bit higher, so I'll give him a 55 instead of 50. Next, with passing, he's kind of like Chigiri and other mid-tier block characters that are decent at it. You know, they don't seem too special, so I'll give him a 75. Dribbling is definitely more of a specialty, though, as we've seen him use his ninja dribbling to get around fraud prints. I'd say he's a more skilled dribbler than Chigiri, but Chigiri can still probably pass more people than him. So I'll give him 1 point higher than him for his technicality with an 89. But where he's higher than Chigiri in dribbling, he's probably worse than him at shooting, as I feel like I rarely remember seeing any goals from him. Actually, his goal against Chris Prince was actually kind of tough with the side volley, so maybe he has more sauce than I thought. And then finally, when it comes to X Factor, much like Chigiri, he has some ability to shake up matches, but like, I never really seen him do anything that crazy. So I'll give him 1 higher than Chigiri with a 73. Also, the main reason I keep comparing these two is because, to me at least, I kind of scale them and value them at similar levels. By averaging the numbers up, he gets a 76. You know, considering Chigiri has a 77.5, it seems pretty accurate. Then a weird one, we have Oliver I Can't Defend. He truly is a great player, but he is receiving a lot of slander for never even touching the ball in the France game. Wait, I got a peek meme in my phone. I'm going to show it on screen if I can remember. Okay, but offense, he's definitely getting like a 60. I was going to give him an F, but he does have metavision and used to be a striker, so gotta be worth at least something. But yeah, as a defender, it's not surprising that it's gonna be lower. Speaking of defense, you know, that is where he shines. As the supposed star defender for Japan, he's kind of a monster, other than the France game. He definitely shined the most in the U20 game, but in the NEL arc and U20 World Cup, he's definitely a lot less threatening. His skills are still almost pro level though, if I had to guess. I'll give him like an 88 based on narrative. Then we have passing, and I'll give him like a 78, because I feel like he should be a bit better than average with metavision. Dribbling, have we ever seen him dribble? I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I can't imagine he's much more than like a 70, so I'll give him that. Shooting is actually kind of decent because apparently he used to be a striker, so I don't feel bad at all. I'll give him an 80. Then finally, when it comes to X Factor, the ability to shake up a game yourself, making miracles happen, I don't feel like he should have any more X Factor than anyone above him, so I'm probably only giving him a 60. So now at our new lowest, we have Oliver I Can't Defend with an average of 72.67. Next up, we have my new favorite character to slander in Bachira. As much as I like to bully him, I won't be biased with this video. First off, when it comes to offense, he's definitely highly rated by most people because he's a strong dribbler and a strong passer. I think these talents balance similarly to Shido's offense, so, you know, I'll also give him an 85. Defense is definitely less than Shido's because at least he has his physique. He's probably like a 50 because I don't think we've ever seen this guy with a single defensive feat, and he's kind of just a small, frail femboy. His passing, though, is definitely great as he's consistently near the top of blocks, so he'll get a high A with an 87 for his steady ability to seemingly always know where his boys want it. Dribbling, as you know, a surprise to no one. He probably would qualify for pro tier, and I'm going to give him a 95 without a doubt being the best in block. But next up is his shooting, which, you know, for sure is just mid. He seems to not really have that great of a shot and not much power behind it. It's more just his ability to get to the net, which is great. I give him like an 80 because he's still like a top striker of block, but, you know, barely making it. Then when it comes to X Factor, I actually believe he really doesn't have that much at all. I said it in my France review. He doesn't really have that ability to just punch up when push comes to shove. Facing a weaker team like Nigeria, he can spread their cheeks, but against people better than him in the NEL or World Cup, he kind of just folds. So I'll give him about a 75, a solid B for X Factor. So now, averaging all the numbers together, he receives a 78.67. Now we have the man in block with the least amount of haters with Gagamaru, the guy who diddles bears in the forest for fun. So Considering we only saw him play goalie like the last 3 arcs, I'm actually going to go off the NEL stat sheet for some reference point. First off, according to this, his offense is like 84. So based on my criteria, it's probably closer to like a high 70 or, you know, I'll give him an 80. Next is defense, and low-key, this guy fucking wrestles bears for fun. Plus, he's a go-to goalie, so I'll give him a 90 because I think he has pro-level defense. He stopped goals from Rin, Shido, Barou, and nearly every other top player in block, and if he was in the box, like defending the corner, if like, you know, Ego subbed him on, he wrestles bears. He's knocking people over. They're not getting the header against him. Next is passing, which... Wait a second. This guy has the same passing stats as Bachira. What the fuck? That's unreal considering Bachira is like a top 10 passer in the story so far. So I guess I'll also give him an 87. Next is dribbling, which is his worst trait. I'll give him like a 75 because he seems average. Shooting is probably around a 78 considering, you know, it should be lower than his offense. And finally is the X factor. You see, this is hard because he hasn't really done anything because he's been stuck in net, but for the tiny bit we were able to see, he was able to hit like a diving shot and he almost hit a scorpion goal. That's like the shit I'd expect to see from Shido. I predict that if he was allowed to get off the leash and he was put in the front lines for a game, he'd be pretty similar to Shido with his abilities to hit unreal shots. So this may be glazed, but fuck it, he's my GOAT. He's getting an 85 for X Factor. Just wait for the next time he finally gets to go into offense. He's gonna mog everyone. But with that, he averages out at an 82.5. Next up for the guy we were all waiting for, my GOAT, Hisagi Yoichi. He should, before I calculate any of these numbers, be the highest on the list so far with what I'm thinking on the top of my head. First off, his offense gotta be the highest one on the list easily. He was shook in the France game because his mental shattered, but when he's normal, he's easily the eye of the hurricane in every match he plays in. He's just a better Karasu when he's locked in. He's smarter, a better shooter, has better hacks with his adaptation. So I'm gonna be giving him a 95 for offense, as he's, you know, in my opinion, easily pro level with his IQ and shit. When he just unlocked Meta Vision, he was already mogging U20 level players without breaking a sweat, and he's gotten much better since. Next is defense, and bro, I'm tired of pretending like he's not one of the best defensive players in the series. In like a straight 1v1, he can't do much. But he has literally saved the ball from the net like 50 times against top players and has stolen the ball millions of times, which is defense because he's stopping their offense. So I'm tired of the downplay. Just like off memory, right? He saved Chris Prince's shot, you know. He stopped Nagi and Reo's ultimate shot in that game. He stopped Barou's shot like 4 times in the Ubers match. He saved Rin's ultimate destroyer shot. And there's probably more examples I can't remember. So if he has like a 95 for offense, he low-key should have like a 92 for defense at least. Next is definitely his 2 weakest attributes, which is passing and dribbling. It still is hard because like he's definitely not a long-range passer type, but when it comes to like close-range tears on the field, his short passes are fucking insane. So considering his long passes are mid, but you know the close passes are peak, I think an 85 is fair for him. Then his weakest stat is dribbling, but like even then his dribbling is not that bad. He's just inconsistent. When he's in flow state, he's been shown to like dribble around Kaiser, Chigiri, Rin even. In episode 1, he was doing scissors, like making a solo tear. So yeah, he has like weirdly good feats once in a while, but overall he's not a dribbler at all, so I'll give him like an 80. Next is his shooting. Not a top dog in the story, but he's still a great shooter in the right scenarios. If the ball is any type of volley, he's a monster and he will place it top left or right, which is better than any pro player in real life, by the way. He's ambidextrous to a decent extent, and finally he has the 2-gun volley, which Kaiser, arguably the greatest shooter in the world, called an obliterating shot. Problem is, as we've seen, if it's just on the floor, not moving, he's pretty below average. I think it's still fair to give him like 90. If 90 to 99 is pro tier, I think it is fair to say his shooting is like the worst out of pro players. He just has so many peak tricks that I think if he can just get his like baseline power to like Barou's, he'd be a fucking monster. Then finally we have X Factor. In my opinion, I don't think you can even argue this. He's straight up the second best on the entire planet with his nearly unstoppable Maharaga adaptation ability to mog anyone, no matter who he's versing, bro. He can bend fate to his will from his aura alone. He consistently farms supposedly better opponents. No one in the entire series has ever shook up as many games as he had. Farms Kira in tag, gets Kunigami the only goal in game 1, farms Nico in game 2, becomes the Eye of the Storm against Reo and Nagi, almost beats Rin and outplays him, beats Ren and Shido in the training game, becomes the Heart of Block and wins them the U20 game, defies Kaiser with an assist in the Bachira game, becomes the Eye of the Storm and beats Kaiser in the Manshun game, dominates everyone in the Ubers game, dominates everyone again in the PXG game, dominates everyone again in the Nigeria game, and then finally bodies in Little Bro's Hugo at the very end of the France game before Rin came in through his elo. His adaptation makes him a nearly unkillable Demon King, and that's why he gets our first 100 in the video for X Factor. Tallying up all these, his average becomes a 90.33, making him our first pro level player, and honestly, I don't know why it would really surprise you. I think you could drop him in as any pro level game and he'd have some impact. But coming down from all our glorious king is Aryu the Glam Goat.
Real quick, guys, just want to let you guys know I do have a Patreon where I am reacting to the block manga.
Kunigami fucking saved it!
So if that sounds interesting, check it out.
He used to be blocked number 2 and I don't understand how the fuck he got that, but yeah, sure, let's scale him. Offensively, he's probably pretty shit, like Aiku, so I'll give him a 65. Defensively, I mean, he's good, sure, but I don't know. I feel like there's other block members I'd take before him on defense, but he's still good, so I'll give him an 84. Next is passing. According to his chart, he's pretty damn bad at it, and dribbling, so I'm thinking 73 for dribbling, 72 for passing. Next is shooting, which is, you know, a bit better, but still kind of mid, giving him an 80. And finally is X Factor, and I hate to say it, but I don't think he's shaking up the game at any point in the series, and he's getting the lowest score we have so far with like a 50. Which, before calculating, I'm gonna guess he's our worst player, and yeah, I was right. He barely holds on to a B with a 70.67. Next up, though, we have the GOAT Blind Yukimiya. Once again, a reminder that this video is coming out before the England game, and I believe he's starting. So this could change, but I'm giving his offense an 81. He's not the smartest or best playmaker, but like Chigiri, he can do solo tears, so, you know, sure. Defense is pretty non-existent, although I actually do remember that one time he did save a shot from Nagi in the Manshun game, so 70, why not? Passing is probably low also, since I don't think I've ever seen him pass, so I'll give him a smooth 75. Dribbling is definitely where he shines, though. Kind of solo tearing through a lot of teams time and time again. Arguably top 3 in block, but I don't know about that one for sure. I'll just be safe and give him a 91 getting in the pro league. Shooting is not the best either. I mean, he has his one cool move, but you know, he hasn't scored that much, so I'm gonna give him an 83. And then finally, one of his better attributes is his X Factor. He's been shown to kind of be like a mini Barou or Shido, with him as a great wild card that can shake up the match a little bit and confuse enemies with the solo plays. So I think an 87 is pretty fair for him, bringing his total all the way to an 81.17. Next up, we have my sexy Go Honri. I bet you didn't expect to see this one, did you? She gets a 0 in every category except for a 100 in dribbling for having the best ball control out of anyone in the verse. So with that, my sexy Pookie Bear gets a 16.67, and surprisingly, she's not going to be the lowest on this list. Next up, we have this small femboy defender in Iki Nico. Probably only going to give him a 70 in offense because he's only been a defender since season 2. Maybe he can design an offense though with his IQ and Metavision, but as of now, no. Next is defense, which I rate slightly higher than Aryu's because he has an 84. I'll give Nico an 85. Passing should be much higher than Aryu's because of his high IQ and Metavision, so I think, you know, 85 is fair again. Dribbling, has bro ever dribbled before? I don't know, maybe 75 is fair because it should be higher than Aryu's, I guess, but I've never seen him do shit. But when we look at shooting, it's straight up embarrassing. Bro, you are a blue lock member with 0 shooting ability whatsoever with 0 power, unironically getting a 60. Probably by far the lowest on this list. And then finally with X Factor, my guy, like Aryu, he has nothing, so I'm giving him a 55. So he totals out at a 71.67. Next, we have my favorite femboy out of all the femboys in the story with my GOAT Hiori. Being an extremely smart, well-rounded player, I'm expecting at least an 80 or above, but let's see. First off with offense, it's kind of weird because he can definitely play make, pass, and dribble, so I feel like it's fairly high, but he doesn't really shoot that well. So I'm gonna give him like an 85 like Barou, Bachira, and Shido because he can make a a lot of shit happen for any team on offense. Next, when it comes to defense, he's kind of like a worse Isagi with being able to steal the ball and save plays with his IQ. He did it against Barou, Rin, and Charles, which is no small feat. So I think he deserves another 85. Passing is definitely one of his best feats. I think there's no doubt in my mind he's a pro level passer, having near perfect passes every time and even be able to pull off no look passes, etc. Honestly, I'm giving him a 95. He's my GOAT. Then once again, he's easily a top 5 dribbler and block, being able to consistently diddle the best defenders around the world without breaking a sweat. Another easy S tier with a 90. Now, where he suffers is definitely his shooting and X factor. Now, according to Karasu, his left leg is cracked, but we've only seen it once, and Karasu kind of gave him the goal. So I don't buy it. I'm going to give his shooting a 78. I think most people before him kind of mog. Then when it comes to X factor, I mean, like, he definitely has a no-look pass, but it was kind of more of Isagi's idea. I just don't know if Hiori's that kind of guy to, like, solo shake up a game by himself. So because of that, I think I'm only going to give him a 70 for X Factor, bringing his average to an 83.83, which is still pretty fucking good. Now, for the next guy, we have another big boy powerhouse in Itoshi Rin, the Destroyer. Now, obviously, he shit the fucking bed in the last game, but that was more just like Nagi having like a bad mindset. He's just too Isagi focused right now, and that was the only game in the entire series where he didn't perform, so I'll give him a pass for this moment. Offensively, I'm giving him the same rating as Isagi because they are both monsters, but for different reasons. Rin's more of a solo monster, where Isagi's more of a team monster, so I think it's fine to give them both 95s. Next is kind of complicated. It's his defense. It's weird because with most players, he's kind of mid or bad, but if it's like against someone he feels strongly about in his destroyer mode, he like becomes an unsurpassable wall. The 2 times he farmed on defense were against Sae and Isagi and Kaiser in the NEL arc teaming up. Like, I don't think other defenders in the story are doing that. I'm just going to be honest. I'd say his normal is like an 80, but his schizo mode is like a 95. So if we average the 2, I'll give him like an 88 on defense. Because if he can master the schizo defense, he'd actually kind of be a wall. Then next up is his passing. Just like Isagi, he's more of a close range passer than a long bomber. But without Isagi's IQ or metavision, he's definitely a little bit worse than him, so I'm going to give him an 83. Now these next 3 stats are all kind of fucking monstrous. Dribbling, shooting, and X Factor. One could argue in the PXG game, his destroyer mode was better than Bachira's dribbling. Actually, I'm not even arguing it. I'm just stating it. It's just true. But he's just not in it 24/7 at this point. So if Bachira got a 95, I'm giving Rin a 94. I don't care. Then shooting, I mean, holy shit. Like, I'd argue he's the most accurate shooter in the entire verse. And then in his destroyer mode, it just skyrockets even more. Not even Glaze. I genuinely believe he's a top 3 striker in the entire series when it comes to just shooting ability. Like, no one else is hitting the shots. I'm sorry, but I don't see Noah hitting these types of shots ever. Like, I just don't. He's getting in the Z tier with a solid 100. And then finally, we have X Factor. I mean, I thought about giving him the other 100 because he literally is one of the definitions of shaking up a game when he goes into his tweaker mode. Although, if the Z tier is top 3 in the world, I do think, we already gave 1 to Isagi. I think there's 2 other players that barely outclass him with X Factor, but he's probably like the closest 4th place possible, so I'm gonna give him a 99, which brings this monster's grand total to a fucking 93.17, which eclipses Isagi as our new number 1, which, makes sense when you think about it, because he literally got a pro offer from Real, the best club team in the world. Now, going from one GOAT to another, we have the Sniper King himself, Sendo. Truthfully, we haven't seen him do that much, so a lot of this is going to be guessing. 80 for offense and defense, since he was, a dog shit Team A striker, but also for some reason has a lot of defensive feats. 75 for passing, 76 for dribbling, since his chart says he should be better by a bit. 80 for shooting as well, since he's, kind of mid. And then finally a 60 for X Factor, because he's never shook up a game in his life. But who knows? With this weird ass training he did, he could be like better than Rin. But at the moment, he earns a cool 75.17. Next, another kind of cool but mid character, Kurona. I'm going to just rapid fire this because I don't think he's the most interesting character to talk about. 80 for offense, for his passing and speed. 70 for defense because he's a tiny little femboy. But, you know, he did actually stop Onazi in the Nigeria match. 86 for passing, as he's shown to be extremely proficient with Isagi. 88 for dribbling, as his stats are clearly showing that with his speed, he's pretty goddamn good. Although, you know, being a small femboy means he's not a great shooter, so he gets a 70. Then finally, he has, you know, sadly, like, no X factor as a singular player. I'm going to give him like a 65, bringing his total stats to a 76.5. Definitely not bad at all. I just think his numbers show, as we've seen, he's just more of a supportive piece than anything else. Now, for the other massive heavy hitter in this video, we have God's chosen emperor, Michael Kaiser. I'm predicting, like, you know, before I write the script, that like Rin, he's gonna be fucking pretty goddamn high on this list. First off is his offense. I'm gonna be giving him a 97, higher than Rin and Isagi. I feel like he has the IQ of Isagi, but the individual skill of Rin. So he kind of makes up for both their weaknesses while having the same IQ of Isagi as well. I think his defense is nearly as good as his, but definitely not to the same level because Isagi's just done more. So I think a 90 is fair for defense. Next we have passing, which I'm just putting equal to Isagi's for obvious reasons. When they started syncing up, they kind of looked like two halves of the same beating heart. So like Isagi, I'll give him an 85. Dribbling is not his strongest attribute, but he's definitely no pushover, as we saw a few times. So I think an 88 is fair for him. And now finally, like Rin, bro, his shooting and X factor are just fucking disgusting. Being arguably one of the best strikers on the planet, I'm gonna just get this out of the way and say it. He's in the Z tier for shooting with Rin. Like, in my opinion, like from what I've seen, it, like if I had to pick top three, it's Noah, Kaiser, Rin, easily, right? And actually, he is the guy who beat out Rin with X Factor. I think he has the slightest fraction of more X Factor than Rin, just because of some of the disgusting level of shots he hits, bro. Like, no one on earth is hitting this shot but him. He's tied for the most accurate shooter with Rin, in my opinion. Most powerful shot, predator eye, miracle worker. I mean, he's just the unstoppable scorer at the end of the day. I think it's quite literally impossible for him to go a single match without scoring and shaking up the field. So yeah, spoilers, he's back-to-back the only deserved 100s in the entire video. So now he takes his new place at the top of our list with the current highest average of a 93.33, which, much like Rin, you know, makes sense because they're both in Real. Now, a much bigger step down from such a powerhouse, we have Monkey Tetsu. Truthfully, he's just a worse Chigiri in almost every way, so yeah. I'm going to keep this one fairly fast. If Chigiri's offense is 82, I'm giving him an 81. Defense, probably the same with a 65 again. Passing, probably pretty mid, 75. Dribbling, probably a bit worse, 85. Although, I do think his shooting is a bit better than Chigiri's. I just feel like he hits harder, and I feel like I remember an episode Nagi hit a few good shots, but I'm too lazy to reread it at the moment, so just I'll give him a few more points in Chigiri with an 85. And then finally, you know what? Fuck it. He's starting over Chigiri in this match, so maybe Ego sees more X factor in him than Chigiri, so I'm gonna give him a 73, 1 point higher. Truthfully, I think he's only starting because he synergizes with Karasu and Shido, as we saw in the PXG system, but, you know, fuck it, why not? So yeah, overall, slightly worse Chigiri in every way. He receives an average of 77.33. But from one bum to one goat, we have my boy Raichi. Straight up Mogs, Aryu, and Nico. I don't know what kind of crack pipe Ego's been hitting to not let my goat start, but I'm going to give this guy the glaze he deserves. First off, I'm going to merge all these together because based on these stats, they're super similar. We just haven't seen enough. Offense, dribbling, passing, shooting, they're all just getting an 80 because fuck it, I don't want to think about it too much. But the more interesting topics are defense and X Factor. Maybe it's just glaze, but fuck it. We are giving the GOAT himself a 90 for defense. Realistically, he mogs IQ, Aryu, and Nico all combined. Infinite stamina just to continuously monkey on someone is just so unbelievably busted in real football. He was even mogging the best overall player in the world by just continuously skitzoing out in front of him. Say what you want, my GOAT's a pro level defender. It's too easy for the sexy footballer. Sadly though, he doesn't really have any X factor. I think 70 is fair for him, but with 80s across the board and then a 70 and a 90, his average is a perfect 80, which does sound about accurate for him. Now though, for my fucking GOAT, Sae Itoshi, genuinely one of my favorite characters in the show just from his aura and play style. First off, we have offense. Now, considering he used to be a striker that can easily hit 90-degree angled shots, considering he's one of the best dribblers in the world and the best passer in the world, I'm giving his offense a score as high as Kaiser with a 97. Next, with his defense, honestly, he has Metavision and is probably as smart, if not smarter than Isagi. So I'm going to give him a 93 since he should be able to read the ball and steal/save just as much as Isagi. And with passing, I mean, I'm not even going to beat around the bush. He's the best in the world. He's a fucking easily the best in the world, at least the best we've seen. So 100, he's given a perfect pass nearly every single time. You know, the second you pair him with a player like Shido, he just becomes a pro level striker easily. Yeah, it's the easiest 100 of my life. Then next we have dribbling, and once again, just a monster, bro. The only person to ever stop him was Destroyer Mode Rin when he underestimated him and was definitely not going all out. Same Rin that could stop a full power team up with Isagi and Kaiser, so that definitely doesn't hurt his stats at all. He has a near perfect style of counter dribbling, and as much as I want to give him a 100, he's probably not top 3 in the world, so I think 98 is fair. Now, shooting is definitely his weakest aspect, but still pro level. I feel like he has near perfect accuracy like Rin, but just not as much X factor or oomph like a player like Kaiser or Barou. But his skills are still absolutely elite, so I'm going to give him a 92 for shooting. Then finally his X factor, which I feel like should still be pretty high considering he can give perfect passes, solo dribble whole teams, and just the ability to shake up high level games. I'm going to be giving him a 95. Eat my ass if you want to argue with me in the comments, but you could guess it. He's our new highest player in the video with a whopping average of 95.83. Genuinely absurd. I cannot imagine anyone else beats this. Near the end of our list, we have Kiyora. Truthfully, I don't find this bum too interesting. I'm going to rapid fire it. Offense, mid, 80. Defense, decent, 75. Passing is actually pretty mid also with an 83. You know, I think we all thought he was like a cracked passer because of what he did with Kaiser. But if you look at his actual stats, he doesn't even look like he's that great at it. I think he just had one good pass. Dribbling, though, is actually pretty fucking insane if you read episode Nagi. This guy can do some crazy breakdancing shit to keep the ball in possession. I'm going to give him like an 83. We gotta see more, though. According to the author, his shooting is his best element, so I guess we'll trust him and give him an 84. Why not? Then finally, you know, this guy has no X factor at all. Easily fairly low with a 65. Yeah, I don't really care about this fucking guy. He gets a 78.33. Now, without a doubt, the worst player individually in our top 23. Without me even finishing the numbers, I just know he's going to have the worst average. Nonase. Offensively, his only use is being a mid-tier Rin minion, 62. Defensively, he's even more useless, 50. Passing, I'll be generous and give him an 80 because of his ambidextrous slave ability to pass to Rin. Dribbling, probably mid, 75. Shooting, even worse, like a 65. But actually, you know what? I'll give him a 70 because he's ambidextrous. Why not? But if I wanted a good two-footed player, I'd get Isagi or Kunigami. And finally, he actually has nearly 0 X factor. He gets a 30, which is actually probably generous for me, if anything. He realistically should straight up have a 0. So yeah, out of our top 23 players left in block, he's easily the worst overall with an average of 61.17. And going off our rankings, you know, that barely even makes him a mid-tier player, which, you know, does make sense looking at these numbers. Next up, though, we have my 3rd or 4th favorite player in the series with the lazy demon himself, Nagi Seishiro, the actual dark horse of the story. Quote me on this. He is scoring the final goal in the U20 World Cup on everything I love. But yeah, let's just hop into it. First off, offense, you know, should definitely be up there. He's like a walk-in nuke that he can randomly pull off the most bullshit moves. Although he's not really like much of a team playmaker. He can dribble decently and make nearly any weird trapper shot possible, so I think 90 for offense is fair. If he gets better at coordinating with others and thinking for himself, it could easily be a 100. Defense, easily his worst attribute. Even Isagi said all he can really do is run in blindly, so 65. Passing as actually underrated. We've seen a few times in the series he uses his body in some crazy way to get the ball to his boys. I think an 80 is pretty fair for him. Next is dribbling, which once again kind of weird to scale because he's like the most inconsistent character ever. In one moment he's just doing nothing, but in the next he's, you know, using some weird maneuver to pass 3 pros or hit like a rainbow flick in the moment. His dribbling is definitely pretty strong, so I think 85 is okay for him. Shooting is definitely another like hard one because he's not like accurate or powerful like a Barou, Kaiser, or Rin, but he has like that Shido gene to pull the most bullshit goals out of his ass, even in the seemingly most impossible angles. So, you know, I'm gonna give him a 90 for shooting. Then finally is X Factor. Now, the two characters in this category so far are Isagi and Kaiser, and Nagi to me is the easy top dog in the series. I put Isagi at 2. I'm giving Nagi 1 for X Factor. I debated putting Rin in the top 3, but like, he just doesn't compare to Nagi. There is just no one in the story, or even like in real life, that can just do the most bullshit fuck ass things Nagi will pull out of his ass. When he's not emo, when he's actually motivated, he just give him the ball. He's gonna make some miracle bullshit happen, like every time. A season 1 Nagi that was motivated nearly soloed the World 5. Like, what? He's my fucking GOAT for a reason, and just wait, when he comes back to Blue Lock, he's gonna diddle everyone. But yeah, with that, his total comes all the way to an 85. Insane from my GOAT. Next, we have the absolute biggest fraud in a monkey in the entire series with Kira. This guy is not allowed within 100 meters of any school because he touches kids. He's a monkey fraud bum who only made it through side B because this new guy was holding his hand. But yeah, he gets a 0 in every fucking category because of his micro wiener, no aura, no bitches, no money, no friends, no football career, no anything. So yeah, bottom of our list with an average of 0s across the board. Now nearing the end of our list, we have Loki, the speed merchant shitter fucker. I really don't like this guy, and I definitely think he's on fraud watch after the last game, but whatever. I guess I have to give him some credit for his godlike speed, even though it's quite literally his only attribute. But yeah, because of his nut speed, he can kind of solo through teams a lot. So, you know, offensively, 96, even though I'm really fighting the urge to give him like a 13. Defense, definitely not all that. Kind of just like a better version of Chigiri. He does have the ability to just like, you know, fucking tweak in front of people, but nowhere like an Isagi or Lorenzo. He still is kind of hard to deal with, so I think 85 is fair. Next is passing, mid, 75. Next is dribbling. Honestly, once again, as much as I fucking hate this guy, he probably deserves 100 for this category since 99% of people can't even keep up with him. Next up is his shooting, which is pretty mid from what I've seen. Definitely no Barou, Rin, or Kaiser. The only reason he scores a lot is because of his speed. He has no crazy shooting techniques or nothing, bro. I'm giving him an 82. Fuck him. And finally, his X Factor, you know, unfortunately, it's going to be pretty high up there also. Just the ability to charge down the entire field in 2 seconds gives you a pretty good X Factor, so I'll give him a 92. Although, I still don't think he's as good as Barou Shido's, because if someone can outplay his speed or to like outthink it, like he's just not all that. So with all of that said, it brings his new average to an 88.33. Actual fucking bum. I hope his leg snaps. Now with these next two characters, people compare them all the time, Ness and Charles. They're both extremely similar with their roles and abilities. First off, you know, offense. I think they're both amazing passers, but Ness has better dribbling, whereas Charles probably is a better shooter. So I'm going to be giving Ness an 87 in offense and Charles an 86 because I think Ness's dribbling is better than Charles' shooting. When it comes to defense, Charles is definitely better though because of his metavision. He was able to stop an Isagi Kaiser team up in the Pikachu game. So because of that, I'll give Charles an 85 and Ness an 80 because they're both pretty smart. They both could be higher also on defense, but they're like equally small, frail femboys. Next is passing, which, you know, which is where they both excel. Now, who's a better passer? In my opinion, I don't know. They're both severely cracked and can give great passes to anyone. Charles was shown to pass to more different styles, while fucking Ness out here giving specific passes to Kaiser with a type of spin on it to make it easier for his kick, but easily was able to give the ascended game-winning pass to Isagi in the Pikachu game. So, like, my slight Ness glaze overshines Charles, but only like barely. I'm giving Ness a 97, Charles a 96. They're both still like, you know, pro level passers. Next is dribbling, and like I said earlier, you know, Ness mogs with a 92, and Charles is kind of mid with an 80. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen this guy dribble in my life. Next is shooting. We saw Charles hit a decent shot in the Friends game, so fuck it, 85, why not? Ness is kind of mid, so 75. X Factor is kind of weird with both these guys, because it kind of just seems like it's all dependent on who can like ascend and give a game-winning shot. I'm leaning more towards Ness because he, you know, actually did that in the Pikachu game. And low-key, Charles kind of got overshadowed by Hugo in that last game, so I don't know. Since Ness showed up, I'll give him an 81 and Charles an 80. So with these calculations, both of their ratings are the exact same with an 85.33, which was not planned, but makes sense considering like I view them as pretty much the same weapons on any team. Imagine if you had both these guys in the midfield, you'd kind of mog. Now with our final 4 players, we have Lorenzo, the best U20 defender in the series. Kind of like other new Gen 11 members, he's just a very overall good player, very complete. First offense, you'd expect it to be low because he's a center back, but nah, his dribbling's fucking nuts. Nearly as highly rated as fucking Bachira. Plus, you know, he can pass, play make, and shoot himself. So honestly, I think 88 is fair for him. Defensively, he's the best in this entire list, which even clearly was stated with him being the best U20 center back. Now, do I think he's top 3 in the world? Probably not, since he's just so young and he probably gets out-muscled by bigger, older guys, but he will be the best when he's older. So for right now, I'll give him a 98. His passing is also shown to be one of his better stats, so I think, you know, 85 makes sense for a player like him. Next up is dribbling, which is his strongest attribute other than defense, and when looking at his stats, like I said, he's nearly as good as Bachira, which is crazy. If Bachira is a 95, I'll give him a 93. Then shooting, you know, it's his lowest, but still not bad by any means. I'll give him an 80. Then finally, X Factor. I feel kind of bad because as a defensive player, there's not really something easy to achieve in general. Now, he's definitely not fully defensive. As he steals the ball, he can push up the field as a defensive midfielder to offensive midfielder. So he definitely could shake up a game, but we don't really expect him to do that. So sadly, I'm only going to be giving him a 78 in this category. But after tallying up all his points, he sits at an extremely impressive 87. Then near the absolute bottom of our list, we have Hugo, the new big man on campus we saw in this last game. He's definitely a great player, but I'm thinking he's overglazed a little bit when it comes to his individual skills. Looking at Hugo, he kind of is like the guy that does everything great, but like nothing the best. First off, offensively, he is a monster, so I'll be giving him a 92 for offense with his abilities to use his IQ, you know, to get down the field, to make plays and passes to score. Defensively, I feel like he's similar to Isagi, where he can use his insane IQ to steal passes and make clutch last second saves. I do think Isagi's much smarter than him, but Hugo has a much bigger frame. So defensively, I'd say they're pretty similar. I'll give him another 92 as I gave Isagi. Next is passing, which is once again kind of insane. As we saw, he's able to calculate the exact mile per hour speed he must hit the ball to catch up to moving targets to have near perfect precision. He's probably an even better passer than Charles, as you know, he seemed to replace him as the team's midfielder in that game. So considering that, he probably should go ahead of his passing with a 97. Already, he looks near unstoppable with these numbers, but his next 3 is definitely where he falls off. Dribbling, it could be decent, but I don't think we ever saw him dribble. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'll just be safe, give him an 80. Then shooting, you know, we saw he could shoot in the France game, but, you know, it's not his role in the team. I think another 80 is fine for him. He didn't do anything special. Then finally, the weirdest one for him is X Factor. So he strikes me as like, you know, a hyper tactical nerd, but he seems to be really focused on this like destiny shit and like staying in your own lane, which gives me the vibes that unlike Isagi, he doesn't really ever do anything too special to shake up a match. So for that reason, I'm sadly gonna have to give him a 75, which brings his total to a pretty solid still 86. And then finally the GOAT Shigeo Mizuki, fucking 100s across the board. He's the GOAT for a reason. Literally hyper mogs everyone before him with the most perfect play the world's ever seen. Easiest 100 average ever. But with that, let's go through all the averages just to see where everyone ended up. Just keep in mind, these scores don't actually determine a player's worth. Players like Shido and Barou have lower scores because of their ass passing and defense, but in their positions as just pure strikers, they are much better than some of the people above them. But yeah, with that out of the way, the lowest in the shit F tier includes Kira with a 0 and Henri with a 16.67. Then for the only person in the meh tier, we have Nanase with a 61.17. Next up in the good B tier, we have Aryu, 70.67. Nico, 71.67. Aiku, 72.67. Sendo, 75.17. Otoya, 76. Kurona, 76.5. Zantetsu, 77.33. Chigiri, 77.5. Kiyora 78.33, and then finally Bachira on top, almost in the A tier with a 78.67. Now entering the great A tier, barely squeaking his way in is my GOAT Raichi with an 80, bro. Barely higher is Shido, 80.17, Kunigami 80.5, Yukimiya 81.17, Barou 81.33, Gagamaru 82.5, Hiori 83.83, Karasu 84.67, Nagi 85, Charles and Ness 85.33, Hugo 86, Lorenzo 87, Reo 88, and then finally Loki at the top with an 88.33. And now folks, we only have 4 players that actually made it in the Pro S tier. Isagi at the bottom with a 90.33, Rin 93.17, Kaiser, 93.33. And then finally, it's a surprise to no one, my GOAT, Sae, farming at the top with a 95.83. What a fucking monster. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. We could like and subscribe. Once again, thanks to our goated Patreon members in the special grade tier, Rationed, Ant, Savage Toby's wife, Silver King, Jordan, and Edits. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.